you gotta, I mean, we gotta reassure, look, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the, you know the thing. Play the radio, make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone, make sure the kids hear words. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. We've been doing everything we can do to keep Biden from being the nominee, and guess what? We tried it in Iraq, it's not working, so now we're going to try, in Iran, excuse me.
Thank you, thanks for your time. Please come back in less than 13 years, sir.
All right, Chuck, thank you very much.
All right, it's Chris, but anyway.
I just did Chris.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives, when you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Ability.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives, when you think about it.
It's almost one a day. Joining me now.
We've got people like Nancy Pelosi now saying that Joe Biden shouldn't dignify Donald Trump by debating him. And I think that's a very clear indication that Biden has no idea really what he's doing.
Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh?
To President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters.
Well, if he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but I'm so forward-looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates. There's going to be plenty of time. And by the way, as I joke with him, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say. Anyway, I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental as well as my mental fitness, and to make a judgment about who I am. The way China will respond is when we gather the rest of the world that, in fact, believes in open trade and making sure that we're in a position that the world that we deal with WHO the right way. That in fact, that's when things begin to change. That's when China's behavior is going to change. And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different. You have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it. But you got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
We still have comedy, though. We still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. Joe is like your uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right. I'm proud to work with Barack America. He's not a superhero, you idiot. Come here. When FDR was on television, there was no TV back then. Come here, Joe. Sit down.
So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. Rapidly rising I don't know. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked
on. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I probably best I
don't know what I was going to say.
Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday, and I want to thank you all. I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? I would eliminate the capital gains tax. I would raise the capital gains tax. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts. I commuted every single solitary day to Wilmington, Delaware, over 500 miles a day. 250 miles a day. All
right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris, but anyway.
I just did Chris. No, I just did Chuck. I tell you what, man, these are back to back. Anyway, I just can't figure the guy. It's like, I don't know, it's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask you.
I'm coming directly to you for ask a quick favor.
And I tell you what, I'm so darn proud. And those poor people who have lost, anyway.
I've been here a number of times. Last time was, I think, all the way back in 2014. But I've been here before that. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town.
If elected, you would turn 82 at the end of your first term. You'd be the oldest president in American history.
Are you willing, Churchill?
Are you willing to commit American history?
American.
Yes.
We should make sure that we have no one going to jail for a drug offense. They go directly mandatory prison.
I would see to it for immediately moving toward, we're in fact in a position now that if in fact we dealt with mitigation across the board, just what we did in the last administration and before, leading to a standard that we provide efficiency for appliances. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air.
Electric vehicles, in fact, the biggest problem is you can't stop to charge. We should have charging stations along every interstate highway in the country.
Yeah.
You pay for it just like you did gasoline.
Sure.
But if you can do that with bicycles in town, and you can put a nickel, I'm serious.
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. A kid coming from a very poor school, a very poor background, will hear 4 million words fewer spoken by the time they get there.
What is that first issue for your presidency?
The first thing I would do is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
You've already done that.
You get a tax break for the racehorse. Why in God's name couldn't we provide an $8,000 tax credit for everybody who has child care costs? It would put 720 million women back in the workforce.
4 more years of Donald Trump will go down as an aberration. Hard to overcome the damage he's done, but we can overcome it. 8 more years of Donald Trump will change America in a fundamental way. The America we know will no longer exist. By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, they switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight.
Oh, yeah. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but you're...
Why attack Sanders? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. There are probably anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people out there that are just not very good people. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by God. You know the thing. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
It's a long way into November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. I'm ready on day one after more than 3 years in office. Why isn't Donald Trump ready? Mr. President, wake up. Because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. We can only reelect Donald Trump.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this, man.